entrepreneurs, the more established ones, we're all getting older. And as we're getting older, the baby boomer generation, there's so many of us and above the baby boomers who have, great businesses. Well, to have great businesses, though, we've got to have great energy. And it's so important to really make the time to be successful on purpose, not only in our business, but in our lives. So we can have the energy to inspire our teams to really accomplish tremendous opportunities. Well, I've got a great speaker for you. He is a top coach to some of the most successful entrepreneurs and CEOs and executives out there. And Chris is going to share with us how you can harness that energy and be so much more successful by taking care of yourself. I'm John Bowen at AESNation.com. Stay tuned. You're going to be glad you did.
Ordinary success? No way. You want amazing, remarkable, exceptional breakthroughs. Dig deep, think bold, drive hard, watch yourself soar beyond your dreams. AESNation.com.
I really appreciate you making the time to join us today in your busy schedule of magic of Skype here. First of all, thank you.
I'm happy to join you, John. Absolutely.
One of the things we're going to get into, how you can really, harness all the energy and make sure that you're going to be very successful. So you're on purpose. But what I want to do is get a little bit of a backstory. How did you get involved? You're helping all these entrepreneurs, CEOs, you're writing books about it, you're designing programs, you're doing all this and that. What caused you to, be so focused in this area?
Well, I think everybody has to connect the dots in their life. I was raised by wolves like you. I'm 57, and I didn't have a lot of guidance growing up, and I had amazingly bad skin from about age 3 to about 20. And every time I went to the doctors kept coming back to my parents, whether I was taking oral medications or topical creams. Your son has sensitive skin, so I grew up on beefaroni and SpaghettiOs and bologna sandwiches, and so I think slowly over time, when I was an economics major in college, I had a professor that really kind of opened my eyes that, being curious about certain things. And one is about nutrition. So a long story short, I went to graduate school and then worked for a large health club. And prior to that, I worked for Frito-Lay and butternut bread. So you kind of have a crazy connect the dots. And then that's all I've been doing for the last 30 years is being in this business. So I think everybody has those connect the dots moments in their career, and how you start and where you are today completely is not where you began.
Well, I know that in my situation, I'm 59, and I've become much more interested in health. I had walking pneumonia earlier this year, and I had never been sick. I've been 2 years out, and all of a sudden, I'm knocked out. And what really happened to me is I had the good fortune of having a number of advisors around me, and Concierge Health and nutritionist friends and trainer and all that. And I was working out and I was in good shape, but I was really not paying attention to nutrition at all. And I got to tell you, it's changed my life. And I want everybody as fellow entrepreneurs to really pay attention to the insights Chris has, because what I don't want you to have is kind of the fat smoker strategy that when you have the heart attack, we deal with this stuff. And that's what so many of us do. And I kind of feel like I'm glad I only got that little push, Chris. But, how in a busy life, I mean, you've worked with so many busy executives, they're charging ahead, all that. How do you get them started and, really, leading, intentionally to much better health?
Well, it always starts with behavior change. So I set them down. And, self-awareness, I think everybody has to come up with that self-awareness, but sometimes they're not aware, but you have to make them aware. So it's not, maybe it could be their blood work or some episode, but if you really dig deeper, really, what is their wealth in their life? Now you start getting into the emotional piece. So a lot of people, when you think about entrepreneurs, what do they really love about what they do? They like the freedom, they like all this different stuff, but at some point in time, they're balancing a lot of balls. They got to make sure they're taking care of themselves because that's their number one resource. So when I really start talking to the people that are really good at what they do, I got to talk about them. I mean, because they're the resource. So if you're not taking care of you, generally your business is not going to be doing too well down the road. So that begins with behavior change, and then you dig even deeper and find out specifically what they want, and what's possible in life, and then move them in that direction. Then we start building habits and strategies. What's their sleep look like? Do they have any downtime? What's their daily eating plan look like? Are they getting enough movement? And that, we systematically build on that plan. And that's how it begins. But if they're not willing and ready and don't have a powerful why, generally you're not going to see a lot of traction long term.
Yeah, and I'm going to echo this because I think I've lost over 1,000 pounds in my life. And it wasn't that I weighed 1,225. It's, I've up and down again. And this is, we get powerful whys for short periods of time. And what I'm going to encourage everyone to do is, before you need to do it, is really today the ability to have great health, use that energy effectively, and particularly with all the new changes going on in healthcare and medicine and so on. We have the opportunity to live a fruitful, long life, much longer than our parents and our grandparents. But you got to take care of yourself along the way and be really in good shape for the next 15 years while all these medical advances are coming in. And Chris, let's dive in. You have a saying, rest, eat, move. I want to take each of these areas and dive in a little bit deeper.
Sure.
Rest. I mean, this is, one, I'm a hard charging entrepreneur. I've got all kinds of friends. Sometimes, people are so proud of how little sleep they get. I'm in Silicon Valley and, pulling all-nighters, working on this stuff. It's great, but how should they be designing, a successful entrepreneur, our listeners and our viewers? I mean, how should they be conscious of designing, if they're going to be successful on purpose with their health, dealing with the issues around rest?
Well, I think you just said the word, on purpose. So the first thing we have to do is when I'm sitting down with your audience, I got to make it, why is rest so important? So I got to build the case. Number one, it's going to help them have a greater range. That's why people work out. You have a greater range, you have a more stamina, you can perform better. But, I can take anybody and give them a set of push-ups to do. Hey, I have no problem. I can do 5 push-ups. But if I don't let you rest, you're going to fall apart on me very quickly. And that's what I see more and more is like I can charge, but really, that's not going to work long term. And then from a health standpoint, you see it every night, low testosterone for both men and women. So your hormones are the first thing that get out of whack when you're not getting enough rest. And then your immune system starts to shut down. And so when a lot of people say to me, hey, I'm exercising, I'm eating, well, step number one is what your rest is like. So we look at sleep. How many hours of sleep are you getting on a consistent basis? What kind of downtime strategies do you have? Like I have a foam roller in my office. I lay it up for 2 minutes. So you create some really easy strategies for people to do without upsetting the apple cart. Like people say, I sleep 5 hours a night. I'm not going to go to 8. I'm not asking you to go to 8. Go to 6 because you're probably not getting much rapid eye movement. Then we get into really finite strategies like is bringing magnesium, like cacao nibs or Epsom salts or things like that to the table that allow them to sustain their sleep. So that's where you begin is help them understand the power of recovery and rest in their life. And then once they believe in that and they feel like, I'm ready to do a little bit more of that, then you implement small steps to build on those. So that's how we begin.
Yeah, I find it to be so important to do. My own situation, I've never slept that much until more recently because now I've learned the power of it as I'm doing it. It's like, yeah,
right.
Yeah. Why? And part of it is we think we got to fit so much in. Everybody's got 24 hours a day, 168 hours a week. That's it. But it's not time management, it's energy management. And what I look at is having that energy to be fully present in anything I'm doing. And one big part is having the right amount of downtime, rest, sleep to make that happen. Let's go to, go ahead, Chris.
One last thing here. I had a CEO of a large, Fortune 100 company, and he called me up one day and he says, I heard you speak, I heard you on stage, and he goes, your energy is out of this world. How do you improve your energy? So when I sat down with him, I said, the number one thing I control my energy is with rest and rejuvenation. I have to have enough rest. So I'm always paying attention to my rest. When I first got out of graduate school, it was all about how I was eating and moving my body. But as I've aged, now I realize that rest is much more. It's the foundation, it's the bedrock. So that's where it begins.
Yeah, and it really does. And then I want to go to, okay, fueling ourselves, eating. And, there's just so many good things out there that aren't good. And, give me kind of a little bit of your thoughts, Chris, on, I remember one time when I first started going to one of the executive clinics, and I decided I've been successful. I've sold a number of businesses, and I said, okay, I've got the money. I should go the extra mile. And I went to, one of the top clinics in the country, and they did all the testing and everything, and I was overweight, and basically paid them a lot of money to tell me I was overweight. But the one thing that, I was describing my life, and at that time I was flying all over the world, giving all kinds of presentations, leading different things. We were acquiring companies, all that type. And, he's trying to coach me, and he said, John, basically you're shit out of luck. You're going to be at the restaurants all this time, and, there's nothing you can really do. Well, I've learned since then there's a lot of things I can do, but maybe, Chris, from your perspective, a busy executive charging real hard, how can they make sure they're getting the right nutrition so they have the full energy to, whether it's weight loss that's important or not, it's really the energy so you can really perform at the highest levels, both when you're at work, when you're with your family, and then be fully engaged for resting as well. How do you do that?
So I think the big one in the very beginning is intentional. You have to start being a little more intentional. I've been in 38 states this year, and I'm on a plane every week. I'm traveling all over the country, and I'm really intentional about what I eat and how I plan. And it doesn't take a lot of time. But I have rituals that I do, like I have oatmeal on the run in the morning. I do frozen wheatgrass ice cubes. I'm a big fan of cod liver oil. I travel with flax seeds, chia seeds. I take spirulina crowd. So I'm a huge superfood guy. I don't supplement at all. I don't take a multivitamin and then I try to eat, the 80-20 principle, eating frequently. I don't get rid of any food groups. I'm not a fan of get rid of a potato or a banana or even gluten, this big gluten craze. We really don't have a gluten epidemic. We just have a digestion epidemic. So once people understand those concepts, then they can have a sustainable eating plan. And I think that's the key. For me, my body weight's 175. It's 175 pretty much all year long. And that's the challenge I try to get with a lot of these executives. Let's get a plan that you can sustain. I can go out to dinner. I can make better choices. I'm traveling. I'm in the hotel, whatever it might be. But I have this food target I designed in 1993, and it's basically on quality of foods. And people recognize it right away. The red area is processed foods, the green area is whole foods, and all you try to do is upgrade. So we're a big fan of teaching people how to upgrade, whether it's their peanut butter or their ketchup, their pizza, their crackers. As long as you start upgrading, that's where people can sustain it, and they like that because they don't really have to give up a whole lot. So that's kind of our philosophy from the on-target living standpoint. We really want people to create sustainable eating habits.
Yeah, what I like is, if you just simply get away from all the processed food, just the damage that can do. And then, the concept I love that you do is that upgrade. It really, there's great food out there. It can be very nutritional, but also you can enjoy eating. And,
and that's the key. So, for example, when you think of upgrade, I tell people focus on exactly what you eat the most of. So, for example, if your kids like, macaroni and cheese, get a better macaroni and cheese, or whatever you like. If you drink coffee in the morning and you put a creamer in it, get a better creamer. So whatever you do, that's how you begin. You just upgrade it. And then upgrades lead to another upgrades, and that's how the path begins.
Yeah, and it's really taking those steps that are important. I know everybody's different on this, but there's just so many tools and so much information, including we'll go to your website as well later. But this is the key part is we keep on saying intentional, getting started intentional. What about movement? Having energy. It's just so critical. And when so many executives, it's so easy. I'm sitting at a desk now. You're at a desk. We're sitting here. It's easy for many people to sit at their desk, all day. How can they make sure they're getting the proper amount of movement so that they're maintaining their body, they're going to have energy, they're not running into back problems and all the other assorted ailments that guys like you, 57, 50, I'm 59. I've got so many of my friends who are just really not in great shape at all.
Well, really around age 50 to 60, you see rapid decline in the body. And so you really have to think about it. I tell people it's your job. Once you start turning around 45, it's your job to move regularly and start taking care of yourself. Because if you don't, it's a slippery slope. But from a movement standpoint, I treat it like compound interest. I think all your listeners are familiar with the compound interest. You have to deposit on a daily basis, not a 3-time-a-week exercise program. It's daily. But now it makes, the big roadblock for a lot of people is they don't have enough time. So I'll challenge them to say, hey, I got a 5-minute routine that you could do every day. And if you did it every day, you'd have better flexibility, you'd have less back pain. And that's the key. The key is to get people to move daily. For example, in my office right now, my office is at my home. Our rest of our team is over at our traditional offices. But I have a foam roller right here. I'm stretching. I do a 90-second stretch. We have that on our website. And there's really no excuse that, hey, say every 2 hours you need to get up and move your body. And many times when I'm doing a lot of my calls, I stand up and move around and stretch and so forth. So you need to move daily, and then you need to think about strength training and get some of these things in your program on a weekly basis. And it doesn't really have to be more than bands and your body weight. So you really don't need a lot of equipment to do a lot. So, but exercise is one of the number one things I have people. If you could put exercise in a bottle, it'd be the most prescribed medication on the planet.
No,
it's magical. You just need to move daily, and you don't need to move a lot.
Well, I think that's the mistake. I think some of us think we have to go out and do an unbelievable amount of exercise. And what I've seen, Chris, some of the most successful entrepreneurs I have the privilege of working with who are also in great shape is that they're very disciplined and they make time for exercise, but it's not anywhere near the massive amount that I assumed they were doing. They're not all triathletes.
Well, I see every day. I mean, I was at the gym a little while ago, and I was talking to a couple of these young guys, and they said, how long are you in the weight room? And I said, about 25 minutes. And they're like, 25 minutes, that's all? I'm like, yeah, I'm in and out, boom, boom, boom. So that's the myth out there that you need to spend a lot of time. The key is you can't out-train a bad diet. So the key is moving your body regularly. And it's not only for my bodies, but it's more for my brain. So any entrepreneur out there, you need to wash your brain every day, because you got people tugging at your shirt tails, beating you up, and I need that recovery, moving my body. It's amazing how I can have a bad day and then all of a sudden I move my body, I feel pretty good.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I like doing trail jogging. I'm out in California. We got some nice hills, and I'll do some elevation, and it's so running through the redwoods. It's just mind expanding, and it doesn't even feel like exercise at all.
And I think one of the things you said too is give yourself permission to do a short exercise routine. You don't need to spend all day. Some days I'll just plan. I'm busy in the airports. I don't have a lot of time to move, so maybe 10 minutes might be 15 minutes. But you got to, because many entrepreneurs out there, they're really demanding on themselves. And sometimes you have to give that hall pass that I need to move daily. And even if I can't get in my hour or whatever it is, I can move my body for a little bit.
Well, Chris, help me out with, we've talked about rest, eat, and move. And that's the magical formula. I mean, and it's not like you and I are the only guys that know that. I mean, everybody seems to know that. But one of the things that they struggle with, okay, I've got clarity of purpose. I've found my why, and I'm intentional in the sense that I'm going to go ahead and get started. But boy, there have been so many health programs that stop. How do we build the habits, the rituals to have success long-term in this?
Well, I think the big one is you got to build one step at a time, and you got to feel like you're drilling oil. You got to go deep. So I think a lot of people start drilling all these wells and they don't go deep enough. So instead of doing a bunch of wells, do one well. So for example, my intention for the next 2 weeks is I'm going to drink 10 ounces of water first thing in the morning. Or maybe I'm going to add a lemon or lime to my water to make them more alkaline. Or maybe I have a little mineral water a couple of times during a week, but I'm going to focus on hydration because it's huge, right? So the second thing is I got to bring some omega-3 fats to the table, whether it's cod liver oil, flax, or chia. So after I'm doing the water thing, now I'm going to add that. Or maybe my posture's not good. I have a rotator cuff problem. Well, that guy said, all I need to do is lay on that foam roller for a couple minutes a day. I'm going to do that. So when people, and then you start doing these, you're in the the unconscious now that you're doing this stuff, not even think about it. I get up in the morning sometimes, I can't remember if I've taken my wheatgrass or not. Yeah, I see the thing empty, and I've had it. So that's the magic. The magic is that you're upgrading and you're having slow habit building strategies in place. I started doing wheatgrass 15 years ago. I started doing flax seeds 30 years ago. Yeah. And 40 years ago, I was doing macaroni and cheese and beefaroni. So these are all steps.
Yeah, and I think I like, it's a matter of fact, just recently I started cooking my own breakfast in the morning. I like a warm breakfast and make a really good, hearty one, all very nutritional. But it was just simple. Somebody had suggested, because of hydration, it's just while you're cooking, drink a bottle of water. I mean, it's like a liter of water. It's, right. And I've now made that part of the ritual. You just kind of add on a little here, a little there, and, with some good coaching and some good advice, it's amazing the progress you can make. It's not trying to do everything at once. You just can't.
At once won't work. So that's the thing with an entrepreneur. You have to make mistakes, but you also have to get some good mentoring or good coaching. So you're really cutting through the chase. And then what I do is we teach certain principles that people they can't really argue about. Like, hey, this is it. I mean, it doesn't have to get crazy. So the human body, we know how to make it super healthy and super energetic. It's the challenging piece. How do you implement that slowly enough that people build habits that they don't think it's so overwhelming?
Well, let me go. I want to go to the next segment because you've written a book on this. Well, let's go to the book of the day, and I'm going to pull up your book here, your latest book, On Target Living, your guide to life of balance, energy, and vitality. Chris, what do you have in the book? I mean, what's it about and why? And I'm going to recommend to everybody that they should get it. And we'll have it in the show links as well. But Chris, what are you sharing in the book that's going to help people really get that energy level?
Well, I'm going to share that I've done over 20,000 training sessions, which is a lot of FaceTime with people. And I'm going to share with you that how do I slowly build traction with people? And that's really what led into my speaking career, that I came in and people were like, man, this is fun and exciting, and born anything else, it's doable. And so the book will open up with behavior change, give you some history on myself, kind of show you what a mess I was, what's possible. I have a woman that's lost over 210 pounds at age 67 years old. I had a woman that went from 26 meds to 2 meds, so in a 4-year time frame. So the people see that, and then we get into the principles, and then we go into the rest, eat and the move, and then we talk about know your numbers and your body's talking to you. So now you learn about blood work, how you can improve that. And it's a very thorough book. It follows my seminar, but in a lot more detail, a lot more depth.
It's great. And, there's some of you who are already, probably 10% of you who are watching this are in great shape already. You're doing fine. And you're just looking for those kind of little nuggets. And we're going to salt those throughout here. But then there's a pretty good percentage. Chris, I had one chance, I mentioned before we started the recording, that I've grown up in the financial services industry, one of the most profitable industries in the world. And I was coaching some top financial advisors. I mean, some of the most successful in the world. Everybody had to be in this one program, you had to make over $1 million a year for the last 3 years of net income. And there were 100 advisors. And as part of the program, and this wasn't our part, it was someone else that was brought in to do this, but they did the blood work and they did an exercise assessment on these 100 very successful. And it was about 10% that were really doing well from a health standpoint. There were so many people who were diabetics that didn't know they were diabetics. There were so many borderline cases. It was all during the 2008, 2009 where the company was so concerned on the stress level. And that was really my wake-up call because, all these successful individuals, they're kind of the right place in the right time from a financial perspective. They're under a lot of stress, though, with the downturn. And they didn't know how bad a shape they were. And probably 15, 20% actually rose to the occasion and, started putting the rituals and habits in. and had, huge, some really big success. It was written up in our industry of trade publication, just how big. And what I want to encourage all the entrepreneurs that are watching this, that if you're not at the energy level you want, that just getting started is, you can make a huge difference.
And not only can make a huge difference, but everybody can always upgrade. So if I look at my program or a person I'm working with, you always can make better. And then the other thing too, a lot of you, like I see a lot of entrepreneurs out there, if you're 50 years old and a male, your testosterone level should be over 500. And most of them don't even know their testosterone level. And if you're a woman out there, that your testosterone should probably be over 40. So they don't know this stuff. For how many of you know your high sensitive C-reactive protein level or your homocysteine? So there's a lot that people can learn about, risk factors, along with just improve their energy and their health and things that go with that. So there's a lot that people can learn, whether you're just beginning or you're very advanced. Everybody can take that next step.
Well, let me go to the next segment, Chris. And it's resources. And I want to go, I'm going to pull up your website. And you got a lot going on. Share with us, the viewers. It's ontargetliving.com if you're listening to it. Again, all the show notes will be at aesnation.com. What do you have on the website now that would be some resources for the successful entrepreneur getting on track on the Rest, Eat, and Move?
Well, we have the book that you mentioned earlier, On Target Living. We have a brand new cookbook that comes out in the spring. It's called Target to Table. It's written by my twins. I have 28, going to be 29-year-old twins, boy and girl. And so they wrote the cookbook, which is really going to be a lot of upgrades. And I have a Lebanese wife, so it's all really high quality, amazing tasting food that's pretty healthy for you. We have exercise DVDs. We have the Food Target. And then we also have a very vibrant website where we have consumables. We have wheatgrass, spirulina, chlorella. So check out the website and kind of see. But we almost have a selection process to what items we sell on our website. For example, we are only going to sell the highest quality soaps and shampoos and toothpaste. So people are like, well, I don't even care about that. Well, you kind of do, because whatever goes on your body or in your body, has an impact in your health. So that's what the website is. We have resources from education. We have coaching. We have 3 speakers, and then we have the consumables and educational materials. So it's pretty vibrant, and we have a newsletter that comes out once a month. So lots of good stuff.
So when you think about all this, Chris, what would be the one, if somebody's coming to you right now, and I can remember when I was interviewing coaches, and I've got a great trainer now locally here, but finding someone, how can they find the right person that they're going to match up from a chemistry standpoint, entrepreneurs? Because I actually think most of us can't do it alone. There's a few people, like yourself, this is your niche. This is what you're really good at. But most of us need help, outside help. And how do they find the right one with how busy, there's so much information on so many different things, selecting that right person that's going to help coach them and guide them along the way?
So what we recommend is you contact us, and then we call you and we interview you and see if there's a good match here. And then we have 3 online coaches. And then generally they have different expertise, but most of the time it's either my son or myself that will make that phone call and have that, couple questions here and there and kind of see where you are at. And, if they're a complete train wreck and they need, lots of, medical stuff, then that might be me. I don't do a lot of coaching, but I do a lot of coaching to our coaches. So we do have those coaches available. We have a gentleman that's 65. We have a gentleman that's 29. We have women coaches. So we have we have 5 of our coaches, and they have a variety of skill levels and focus points. So, but normally it's a call, and we make it very accessible to people that we want to talk to you and help you, and then give you the resources to help you be successful.
Yeah, it's so critical to have kind of that ongoing there's got to be chemistry between the coach and the coachee, if you will. And so I'm going to encourage people to reach out, to really do some exploring, to make sure that you have somebody along on the journey, because, boy, it is so important to have your health. Let me go to the last segment here where I'm going to share some of the key takeaways I have. And Chris, one of the, I'm going to just go over took a bunch of notes, and what I see here, number one, is we've got a clarity of purpose. As entrepreneurs, we're driven. We understand our whys, and if we don't, we need to get clarity. But we can see how important it is for us to have the energy to lead this great life. I mean, we're in business not for more business, we're in business for a great quality of life. Well, we've got to take great care of ourselves. So number one is understand our why and the alignment with us as a person. Second, I'm going to go with intention. And this is such an important one, because in health, at least in my experiences, it's so easy to start a program, but you don't maintain the intention. There's not that drive. And there's got to be a reason, but the reason shouldn't be the heart attack. It shouldn't be the major health issue. Really think of the difference that you can make in the world and your own personal quality of life. It's in your enlightened self-interest to take really good care of yourself. And lastly, building habits and rituals. All top athletes, all top entrepreneurs build habits and rituals. And, Chris, you gave us some great examples on this. I want to thank you for spending the time today. It's been great. And with that, I'm going to wish, make sure that you take these insights, and no matter where you are on your health, your energy, let's go out and execute. Be intentional. Your clients, your future clients, your family, everybody who loves you is counting on you. Don't let them down. Wish you the best of success.
Exceptional, remarkable breakthroughs. AESNation.com.